Spooky Friends. I'm Colleen.
And I'm Margaret.
And we're the Cousins Weird. We're with you in our pod today. I am still recouping from my spinal fusion disectomy. It sounds horrifying when you say it out loud. So if my throat, I sound weird. My throat's a little puffy still. So we're sipping cider today. We had pickle chips, chocolate chip cookies, and white cheddar cheese corn. Don't judge us. We have the appetite of a pregnant woman, and we're not pregnant, okay? But it's good stuff.
It is. Those tangy pickle Doritos, we are not sponsored by them, by the way. They are intense.
Oh my god, they are. You don't need a lot, but they're delicious.
They're really good, but you can't... It's kind of good that they're so intense, because then
you could eat the whole bag.
It's like portion control.
Yeah. Because really, the flavor, I could eat the whole bag, but it kind of hurts my tongue after like 4 chips. You're like, my tongue is on fire. And not like because it's hot. It's just so... Vinegary. It's vinegar. like, remember when you were a kid and you get vinegar chips and you breathe it in just so you start coughing because it was a weird sensation and you just kept doing it because you're like, why does it do this? But I don't like it, but I can't stop. You put a chip in your mouth and you breathe in.
I don't know if I ever did that.
What? You never did that?
No. My favorite thing to do as a kid was Winto Green Lifesavers, and you go in the bathroom, you turn the lights off, and you
spark in the dark.
You bite them in the dark, and it's like a green spark in your mouth.
Yeah,
it's
that
the
is fun.
Ever.
I used to do that too.
I still do that.
The vinegar, salt and vinegar chip, you put it in your mouth and it's like every time. And it's so funny because the other day, Max, my nephew, his name Max, he was here and he was doing that with the chip. I'm like, oh, must run in the family. We're a bunch of weirdos. Sucking in vinegar chip scents.
Breathe in the vinegar chip taste.
But hooray, we're in October. We're in our favorite month of the year. It's spooky season. We're excited. I'm still recovering, so I'm kind of sad because I'm not sure how much of the fall fun I can do right now, but I am...
We will bring the fun to you.
Yes. I'm getting the fun brought to me.
Yes.
I really would like to do a haunted house before Halloween, and I'm hoping I'm able to do that, but right now, like, any jarring thing is not a good idea. My head can't be moving around a lot, so I know if I get scared, my head would probably fall off. Plunk, right on the floor.
Colleen,
done. I am the Halloween.
You're the Pez dispenser.
I am, yeah. My head will cool right backwards. So, better stay away from haunted houses than I want to go. So I'm hoping I get to one by the end of the month. I'm healed enough where I can
I really want to do a haunted hayride. Remember doing those when we were kids with what was it, through Fire Barn.
Yeah, the Fire Barn did them through the cemetery.
Watertown Center. Yeah, it was so fun.
I mean, we were little.
Yeah.
A hayride would probably be better for me because I wouldn't...
They should still do... Why don't they do stuff like that anymore?
I don't know. They did a lot of cool stuff when we were kids. Now you have to go outside of Watertown to find cool shit.
Yeah, like it's probably insurance or there's probably like some kind of crazy insurance.
The 80s you could get away with anything.
People used to like grab you and shit too.
Oh yeah,
I was terrified. You go on through a haunted house and people would like grab you and pick you up and you would scream. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
You can't touch people.
I don't know.
Actually, I'm kind of glad they can't because I probably would punch them in the face. Now you touch me, I will punch you in the face.
You're a kid and they grab you from behind. You're like, ah!
I know.
It's probably because people were perverts and they were grabbing you.
Exactly, and then like consent, all that stuff. So. I get why, and I'd probably kill someone now if they did it, like punch them in the throat. They'd become the Pez dispenser, not me.
Well, this summer, we listened to a lot of podcasts, Colin and I, and what got us in the mood to make our own podcast was listening to a true crime podcast with Ash and Elena because they're our favorite girls.
We love them.
And they're
Shout
so
out
good.
To you too. You're amazing.
They really are. But I mean, listening to their podcasts are like they're true crime. And the first podcast that I started listening to was the last podcast on the left, and that's also like true crime. And they do some history stuff. And this summer they did this series, and it was all like. Their podcast was all like different historical things. Mm-hmm. And I recommend to go back, find their podcast, and listen to the one on the plague. It's like, I don't know, like 6 or 7. It's like 5 or 6 parts to it. It is so good. On the Black Plague.
I listened to it one day. You did my lashes. We listened to it.
I know. It's so I laughed so hard.
It was very funny.
Oh my God. Those guys, and they do so much research. They're so good. And they did like one on the USS Indianapolis, and they did another one on this one that I just listened to is on Billy the Kid, also awesome.
Love Billy the Kid.
Yeah, and it's like talks about like, and it's funny because when they're explaining different people, and the one guy Ben on the podcast is like, no, which heartthrob played him in Young Guns?
Listen, I don't know if it was Young Guns or Tombstone that did this to me, but any person in the Wild West,
oh my god,
it's hot. I'm not talking about, like, I don't watch old westerns like with John Wayne, that kind of stuff doesn't do it for me. But in the late 80s, early 90s westerns, hot.
Val Kilmer with tuberculosis playing Doc Holliday is like his hottest.
There's something really wrong with me that was the hottest thing in the world to me, that he was coughing out blood and looked terrible, but he was hot.
He was so
Oh
hot.
my god. What is wrong with our brains? They're messed up in the head, I guess. I don't know.
It like formed our love map, and now it's like, oh, Gary Oldman and Dracula.
Yeah.
So hot.
Oh my god, Gary Oldman and Dracula. Speaking of movies and people that are hot, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is, or today, we're not nighttime, it's daytime. I'm on muscle relaxers and nerve pain medicine, so I'm a little goofy right at the moment.
And I'm just myself, so, you know.
I'm going to be talking about the summer of 1816, the origins of Frankenstein and the life of Mary Shelley. And
when we were younger.
Yeah, when we were younger. I didn't know anything about, like, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as a teen. Like, I mean, I heard of it, but I didn't care.
We knew Frankenstein.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
We didn't know, like, we knew Mary Shelley was the author of Frankenstein, but we didn't know, like, about it. And then we watched. And the only reason why we watched this was because Julian Sands
was in it, and I was infatuated.
Me too.
We were in love with him. We watched anything. What was those movies? Warlock. Oh my god, yes. They're terrible, but I love it.
They're terrible. And
he's hot.
He's like he's kind of weird looking, but
in a good way.
Hot, yeah.
And then so that's
Tale of
why
a Vampire.
Tale of a Vampire. Oh
that
my
was
god,
when we started it because we were vampire obsessed.
So we found that this movie called Gothic was out there, and
he was in it.
He's in it. So we're watching, and then bonus, Gabriel Byrne's in it. Isn't that his name? Oh my god, so hot.
In the 80s.
And this is the 80s. It's 1986, actually. I wrote it right down.
The actress who plays Mary Shelley, isn't that the actress that was married to Liam Neeson that died?
Oh, maybe.
She was in like a ski accident or something.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that her?
Could be. I don't know, though. I don't know. You better look that up.
Colleen's going to talk. I'm going to look it up on my phone.
So we watched the movie. It's disturbing in lots and lots of ways. Hot. Very hot, very steamy, and lots of things crazy. And it just, like, I became obsessed with... 1986, yeah. I became obsessed with the idea of Lord Byron because Gabriel Byrne plays him.
It does.
Lord Byron, super hot.
Not so hot now.
I still think he's hot. I don't know. There's something about him. I love him. Julian Sands plays Percy Shelley. There's my boyfriend, Julian Sands.
Very strong widow's peak now.
Yes, and then Mary Shelley's played by who?
Natasha Richardson. Which is the sister. Isn't she the sister of the woman?
What woman?
She was. It was, that's
Claire?
her. Yeah, she died. She is the one who was, she was married to Liam Neeson. Right.
Oh, man.
Yep.
And then who plays Claire? I always thought she was so beautiful.
Miriam Sear. Oh, yes,
I always thought she was so pretty. Anyway, we watched that movie, and I became... Yes, there she is. She looked creepy there, but...
Yeah.
Obsessed with that whole... Those writers and that house and the whole thing behind it. And so, because we're in spooky season, I thought, let's do the origins of where Frankenstein came from, which was that summer. And there's some cool things... I just really think that Mary Shelley would never have written Frankenstein, which was basically the first science fiction book ever written. It's like iconic, and it broke down, like, it was like, it inspired so many people to write stories like that, right? Because it has science in it, and it has, like, horror in it, and it has she researched, like, she's an intelligent woman.
Wasn't there a movie, Frankenstein, based on the novel, and it was Sting in it as Frankenstein?
Yes.
So hot. Yeah, he's hot.
So, anyway.
We're having a mood today.
We're having a moment. We're going to go back. Okay. So, I'm going to be talking about the summer of 1816. What inspired Frankenstein? And if all these things didn't come into play, Frankenstein would never have been written. Because it was like meant to happen. And it wouldn't have happened if all these things didn't come to play. Oh, Timothy Spall. Oh, he's the one that plays the doctor. Oh, so gross. Ugh. Oh, God, he's so terrible. Okay, but to talk about this, I'm going to start talking. I want to talk about Mary Shelley's life. Because we need to find... Margaret's gasping at something right now. Oh, God. Young Julian Sands. I can't even stand it.
He's so handsome.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Back to the story. Okay, we're going to talk about Mary Shelley's life and how she came to this point in the summer of 1816 where she wrote the story.
Okay.
Mary was born, it's Wollstonecraft Godwin, on August 30th, 1797, in Somerstown, London. Her father was a philosopher and a political writer, William Godwin, and her mother was a famed feminist of the time, Mary Wollstonecraft. Wollstonecraft, yes. I can't say it right. You know I can't talk. So the sad thing is, Mary's mother wrote books on feminism and parenting, like back in the 1700s, which...
Crazy.
Wow.
Awesome.
But her mother sadly died, like, very soon after her birth. She had, they called it puerperal fever, which is childbirth fever. Basically, bacteria gets in your reproductive tract, because things weren't clean back then.
Nothing was
And then
clean.
when someone got an infection, like, you're just dead. You don't...
Yeah.
There's nothing can happen. So, sadly, she died, which left her father to raise Mary. And her first few years of life were really happy. Her father was, like, this cool dude that, like... He was basically an anarchist at the time, and he wrote all these political papers, and he had all these people coming to the home that, like, all these intellectuals coming to the house to talk about politics and stuff. And then his father decided he was going to marry someone named Mary Jane Claremont in 1801. So she was what, 3, 4, 5 years old? Mary Jane, the stepmom, had 2 children of her own. One is Clair Claremont, who has a big role in the story of Mary's life. Mary despised her stepmother because she treated her she was like the...
Claire was the stepmother?
No, Claire was the daughter.
Okay.
It was her stepsister.
Okay.
Mary Jane is the stepmother.
Right.
Mary Jane was not nice to Mary Shelley.
Yes.
Not Shelley at the time, but...
Young Mary.
She detested her stepmother because she treated her differently. She treated her poorly. Like, she only loved her children. She didn't care about the rest. So she sent her son and daughter off to boarding school and left Mary home. She said she doesn't need an education. But it didn't matter because Mary's father was, like, super smart. And she didn't have a formal education, but he gave her a unique and an advanced education that women wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. Like, she wouldn't have got the education she got if she went to boarding school. She'd been learning how to, like, needlepoint and
how
play
to
the
curtsy
piano.
And how to, like, set a table and host a dinner.
Yeah, things that
like
she didn't give a shit about because she was, like, this cool girl that was born from 2 cool parents, right? So he had this vast library, and she used to read and go to her mother's grave a lot and read books. Anything she could get her hand on, she just loved it. She would talk to the intellectuals that he'd entertained, and her father encouraged her to adhere to his anarchist political ideas because he's like, you know, and he thought his daughter was awesome. Like, he just really loved her.
Why was he with this horrible stepwoman?
Basically, like any other tale, like, he'd be alone. He didn't think he could raise her without a woman.
And she could have tricked him anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, because they didn't get divorced back then, really.
No. And she found creative outlet in writing. So she started writing at a young age. She'd write, you know, short stories. She loved reading, all those things. So she's there at home. You know, people are coming and going out of the father's house. Now, her dad got into a lot of debt. He had a hard time maintaining his money. I don't know what he was doing, really. He had some businesses that failed. He just didn't have a lot of money. They were in and out of debt. But she, in March of 1814, she met the famed poet Percy Shelley, who was famous at the time. He actually got kicked out of college because he wrote a thing that God wasn't real. And back then, you don't say those words. He got kicked out of college. But he was a devoted student of her father because her father was a